Yet more of a bit of a global tour from President Zelensky, the Eurovision, then he was in the Saudi Arabia trying to raise funds. Now moving on to Hiroshima. There's no bounds to his global fundraising, is there? Do you think he'll get a result?
Yeah, it does look like it. I mean, certainly it was a bit of a surprise that President Biden did the U-turn on the F-16s. He's previously said that he wouldn't allow F-16s to go to Ukraine. Now he's changed his mind, but then he changed his mind over Patriot air defense systems and Abrams tanks. Now, this won't be enough for President Zelensky for his new offensive, which is due to start at any moment. It takes about 4 months to train an F-16 pilot, but it could certainly change the course of the war later on this year.
What do you think's caused President Biden to make that U-turn on F-16? Do you think it is the people power of President Zelensky? Do you think there is something to be said for him garnering the support in person? And the second part of that question is on that theme. What do you think he will achieve or hope to achieve from being at the G7 in person? Do you think he'll be hoping to garner support from nations such as India and Japan, who haven't yet pledged that military aid?
No, I mean, I think that this is the point Zelensky is really good at this. I was in the House of Commons when he came to address us there, and he's very personable, and I think that he's very persuasive when he actually arrived at these places. So he's learned that it's better to actually tour the world than stay at home, so he can get the support. On the other countries, I mean, this is partly what the G7 is talking about. When it comes to India, India is worried about higher energy costs, which is why it's not banned imports of Russian energy. And obviously the G7 countries are trying to persuade India to change its mind. There are other countries that have not done this. Vietnam, for instance, that Vietnam historically has close links with Moscow. They get 60% of their arms from Russia. They don't really want to upset President Putin. But at the moment, the pressure from the G7 is on those countries which are not supporting Ukraine sufficiently.
Well, Nigel, I wonder how long this can go on for, because you mentioned the deal there with India and China, the oil deal, which effectively means Western sanctions against Russia have been completely toothless. They're just selling their oil elsewhere. So far, UK has donated £4.6 billion and the USA an astonishing $75 billion. If you're fighting a foe with basically bottomless pockets, which is what Putin now has if he's selling his oil everywhere, when is the money going to run out? And when do you think public sympathy is going to run out?
Well, I mean, there's no sign of that happening yet. And I think we've got to be prepared to be in for the long haul with this, whether it's America or Britain or any other country. We all thought that when Russia first invaded Ukraine, that Ukraine would fold pretty quickly. They proved that wasn't the case. And it does look like that Ukraine could actually win this war. So really, there's no backing down now. So what we're doing is we're supplying ever more sophisticated weaponry to Ukraine. I mean, the risk obviously is huge. If you send F-16s, these can strike deep into the heart of Russia, and that would just escalate the conflict and may actually provoke a world war. So we've got to be careful about this. But I don't think that we can back down now. Having got as far as we have to actually give whatever it takes.
Nigel, we've just seen some pictures of Rishi Sunak at his bilateral meeting with Emmanuel Macron in Hiroshima. What do you think the pair of them have discussed at that meeting this morning? And Rishi Sunak will be keen to look statesmanlike on the world stage, won't he, after that bruising local election defeat and also the conference of Boris Johnson disciples last weekend?
Yes. I think the important thing is that after what Boris Johnson is alleged to have said about President Macron and Liz Truss did, that the one thing that Rishi Sunak will be really keen on is to try and repair Britain's relations with France. So that's part of the reason for the meeting. I mean, the things that they will be discussing, Ukraine again, which is the major topic of this G7. They'll also be talking about Taiwan. Taiwan. Taiwan is an important one. Japan is very keen to get some Western support to see down China over Taiwan. President Macron has said we should stay out of it. Obviously, Rishi Sunak and the French president will need to actually discuss that one.
Well, Nigel, I think a lot of people watching the show today will be hoping that Rishi Sunak might talk about stopping the boats, and maybe Macron can pull his weight in that front. Because, you know, Nigel, yesterday, the Tory party eclipsed New Labour for the length of time they've been in power, 13 years and 10 days. So at least the Tories are winning on something. How much do you think these conferences play out, these international conferences play out domestically? Do British voters care? Or is it really back to business of stopping illegal immigration, getting inflation down, getting taxes down? Do they matter anymore? Because, I mean, Donald Trump boycotted the G7. Do they still have a relevance on the global stage? Or is it just kind of a talking shop?
No, I think that they are hugely relevant on the global stage, but you're absolutely right, Martin. I don't think they do much for the voters back home. I mean, this is something that political leaders must do. It's a good thing to actually get international leaders actually talking to each other. So from that point of view, it is important, and you get these international deals like the F-16s out of them. But no, when it comes down to voters back home, what they care about is domestic issues, especially the cost of living crisis.
Nigel, I just wanted to get your reaction to a story that's on the front of many of the newspapers this morning. Daily Express, energy bills to tumble. Daily Mail, energy bills to fall, £450. This is all about the energy price cap being slashed. It's good news, isn't it? But still very, very high energy bills compared to pre-pandemic levels.
Yeah, I mean, they are expensive, but at least there is a sign that they're coming down. Again, this is one of the things that President Putin was doing. He was trying to weaponize energy for the war in Ukraine, and that sparked off the huge price rise. We've now been able to get energy from elsewhere, hence why wholesale prices are going down. So yes, I mean, obviously for all British families, that is good news. Other good news on the horizon is inflation should start coming down below 10%. And obviously what the Tories are banking on for the next election is people actually feeling better off. And if they don't feel better off, then certainly the Tories are absolute toast.
OK, Nigel Nelson, really good to have you with us this morning. Thank you so much.